Hello.
Hi everyone, good evening, welcome. I see a couple of new faces, thank you for coming. The first thing we'll do, I want to let you know that we're recording the meeting, and it's going to be on our YouTube channel, if not today, then tomorrow. So you'll be able to see everything, and if you have questions, you missed any points, or you can always go back in and see the recording. I see that we have new members, so if you don't mind, we can all just go around and introduce ourselves. I'll start with me. My name is Gladys Sandoval, and I'm the co-chair of this committee.
Hi, good evening. I'm Heather Pierce, and I'm chair of the entire community board. Good to see you guys back in the summer. Hi everyone, I'm Marcel Ashley Cabord, member of the committee.
Hi everyone, I'm Lou Tepanica, also a member of this committee.
Good evening, Nick Gallipo, committee member.
David Vance, committee board member.
Robert Ash, community board member.
Natalie Pinkowska, community board member. Lindsay Lewis, public member.
We're missing Bradley. He'll join us in a little while. He's just running a little bit late. And you have Juliet. Would you like to introduce yourself? Good evening, everyone. Juliet. Now it's your turn to introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your company, and anything you feel that you want us to know.
1 second before we start. To the new members, how we sort of run this is we give the applicant a moment to talk about themselves, to go over everything that they need to tell us, and then we take a moment to ask. Then we go around the room and ask questions that we have from having reviewed your application. If you don't have a copy of the applications in front of you, I believe a few extra copies have been provided. You can use those as well. We ask that everyone kind of try to stick to one question, even though you might have many. And if your questions don't get answered at the end, then we'll kind of run through the rest of those. So that's kind of how the format's going to work.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bradley Phillips. I'm the owner of Bear Site 1. We were awarded a adult use retail cannabis license from the state earlier, well, I guess now it's last year. I've been looking for locations in New York. I'm a native New Yorker. I was raised in southern Westchester and moved to Manhattan right after college. I have been in the retail wine and liquor industry for the last 32 years. I've owned retail stores, managed retail stores, a consulting company, consulting in buying and running of retail wine and liquor stores in Manhattan. I went to school, became a level 3 sommelier, and that was my life for the last 30 years. Since COVID and the absolute decimation of the retail wine and liquor industry in Manhattan, I saw an opportunity with cannabis as a kind of natural progression of a career. I feel that not much else prepares you for retail cannabis other than maybe a pharmacist, but dealing in a controlled substance for the last 30 years. I'm proud to say I've never had an underage sale. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Forest Hills, you have great demographics for a adult retail use cannabis store. Pretty rare, 80% of the population in Forest Hills is of age. 20% being over 65, which is the fastest growing demographic in cannabis use in New York State. My father in his 80s is now using little gummies, and he's sleeping better, and he swears it's helping his neuropathy. There's immense, I'm a very big proponent of the medical uses. Obviously, New York skipped, for the most part, the medical thing and kind of went right to recreational. But there's a reason that senior citizens are the largest growing demographic in buying cannabis. The the medical benefits are immense. Yeah, that's about it really, I guess. We just signed a lease a couple of months ago. I am working with architects, contractors, expediters. It is always interesting building out a new store. I've not done it for dispensary before, but for retail liquor. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Thank you. I see just your name here. Do you have any partners? I'm sorry if I missed it, if you said it's just you. You also mentioned that you have already what the signage will look like. Do you have any renderings or anything with you that we could see?
I emailed them with I think everything you guys have.
Try to use my thing here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had, in my emails, I had emailed the rendering of, it's the first render. But it's that style, and it'll look 80% similar to that. There might be some little tweaks, but as I said, we just signed the lease. We're actually not taking possession until December 1st. So we're really working on the inside and engineering and build out stuff.
I'm sorry I missed it. I didn't see it.
It's okay.
I'll pull it up and then I'll pass it around.
Okay. Also, in one of the security questions, you mentioned that you will be having cameras, but you're only storing the footage for 2 weeks. If I'm correct, it's 90 days by the OCM, but that's the maximum. Is there a reason why you want to store it for only 2 weeks?
According to the OSIM guidelines and working with security companies, the total backup is 90 days, but with the power outage, it'll still back up for 14. I believe that's how it works.
I'd like to hear from the committee now, if you have questions for the applicant. Robert?
Hey, good evening. So you said to hopefully lease commencing December 15th, is that correct?
Possession. The lease is in, but I guess the tenant who's there has been there like 20 years, and something happened with their leaving that location and they're moving to another location, and there's been something went wrong with their construction in the new location. And the landlord, again, has a 20-year relationship with them, so we have been back 2 months.
I'm sorry, you're in the complex with the bagel place, right?
Yeah.
Which space is it exactly?
It's the dentist.
Oh, okay, perfect. And so assuming on that timeline, what's your targeted open date?
Well, it's construction in New York, so I would hope March, but yeah, most likely April, May, June. Yeah, I've never had a construction project come in on time, so.
And is this your first, do you have any other experience in this arena?
No.
No, okay, so you've never worked at a dispensary or managed a dispensary, and you have a consulting company that's directing you, or you?
No.
Not being judgmental, just,
No.
it's a lot for someone to dive into, and I applaud you if you're just diving into it.
No, but I do plan to hire someone, a manager with experience in the field. I definitely, as a kind of professional business person, have been researching for the last several years. I actually have gone out to California and to Oregon. I have met with, toured grows, distributorships. I'm a serious business person, so when I decide to go into something new, exhaustive research in the industry for the last 2 to 2.5 years, including spending a month in California and a couple of weeks in Oregon.
Interesting, thank you. Last question, sorry. It sounds like you have a lot of business background, specifically in Manhattan. How come Forest Hills?
Combination of things. To be completely honest, it is the real estate for retail campus in New York is holy cow difficult. Between the regulations with churches, schools, other stores, they're double the size than it is for a liquor store, or a distance rather, not double the distance. And it's a full-time job finding locations.
There's no real estate left in Manhattan.
It's so hard. It's so hard. Rents are pretty crazy in Manhattan. Yeah, I don't know. There's, like I said, a lot of demographics that I looked at made this area a place that I let realtors know was somewhere that I was interested in. So when this popped up, I jumped on the location.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You have mentioned that you have another retail stores, a wine and liquor store in Manhattan, but you also say that you're gonna be kind of the operation in this business. Are you planning to distribute your hours between all, I don't know how many liquor stores businesses you have, but among those.
So I am awaiting final transfer of the store that I own on the Upper West Side, which we put in for the transfer in March. So State Liquor Authority right now is working on about 6 to 8 months. So what that means is I've sold the store. I'm just waiting for the SLA to approve the license transfer, and then I no longer own the liquor store.
You're gonna be like
So I'm going to be here
90%.
every day.
Oh.
Every day.
Okay, Lindsay?
Hi, thank you. You can just provide a little bit more color on delivery. I think I saw that you will be offering delivery, so you can ID check at time of sale as well as in person. How many people will be in the vehicle and the drivers?
So there is the online ordering system in which we have ID checks. Then there are handheld, very similar, you see bouncers outside bars, that as long as your signal is good. Handheld ID checks at delivery point. The latest on the OCM and the lock boxes in vehicles, as of right now, they're not mandating any more than one person in a vehicle, with lock boxes that are chained to the frame of the seats, so you can't just the box itself that it's in is locked, and then it's locked attached to the car, and that's right now where we are. It's an evolving thing, kind of like advertising and marketing. The SLA, they've made a lot of changes, and there's probably a lot more coming. It's they update rules and regulations fairly often. Or if you're on my side, it's moving the goalposts.
And also, is delivery only in Queens or other boroughs?
But no, we'll be having probably 2 to 3 mile radius is all we're looking at. No, not
Thank you.
traffic's too bad.
Pass that down to David, and then pass it back to Marcel.
I saw the signage. Where did you come up with Kushi?
Again, every name is taken. Every name you can think of between Colorado, Washington, Oregon, California, because they've had this for decades. It was available, it had a .com available, and we rolled with it. It's really, really difficult to find a name that fits the industry. They're all taken. Brutal.
Hello, apologies first off for being late. My name is Bradley. I'm the other co-chair for this committee. If it was already asked, please just cut me off, but I just kind of wanted to go into some of the questions about the security. A little very generic to these responses. So I just wanted to go into a little more detail. For number 2, you say there's about 3 security guards that are going to be on site. But you didn't put the word
Rotating.
rotating.
So there's always one.
One per day. So what are their hours going to be? If they're like full-time, part-time? Are they going to be open? Are they going to be there from 9 to 11 on Friday and Saturday?
We will have a security guard there every hour we are open.
Okay.
And that, adding up the hours, dividing them, it's 3 full-time.
Great.
security people.
Thank you so much for clarification. You have here that they will not be armed. I would just like to know what are your plans for de-escalation training, or are you going to be doing a third-party security company that will hopefully offer that to the security guards? So what is your options here? Are you hiring straight out, or are you working with a third party?
Third party.
Okay, and then you're confirmed they have that de-escalation training.
Well, so the OCM requires,
Yes.
so
Great. Yep, and I know my co-chair, I'd say they'll have cameras, so that's all of mine right now. Thank you for going into deeper detail.
All right, on the area of our community, you mentioned that you're planning on having community outreach programs and programs to integrate the community. What do you have in mind?
I'm just getting sort of started on that. Is the best I can say. I plan to I don't have an exact cause or anything that particularly I can say previously I've been a supporter of, but giving back is something that is part of this industry. It's part of the whole culture of what legal cannabis has done in so many communities. Giving back is a really big part of that. So I don't have anything concrete or definitive, but it is something that we will in our corporate structure.
Also, what are your plans on hiring locally? What type of structure are you going to have? Full-timers, part-timers?
Right now, it looks like 6 probably full-time, 4 part-time, based on the hours we're looking at, and me working ungodly hours. Locally, we're looking at, Indeed has worked well for me in the city, so kind of starting there. Obviously, the mass transit around the area is incredible, so people can kind of come from all over. I don't really, I've always used Indeed the last probably 5 years, and I've had tremendous success with it.
One thing to consider, your location is sort of strategic in that it's relatively close to folks who park to go to concerts. So, so there may be opportunities to sort of have your business benefit from those concerts at the Forest Hill Stadium. My question is sort of like, how would you handle sort of that kind of like extra sales volume? Or would you have something set up where people could order in advance and pick up, or things of that nature? Because, when volume is high, sometimes policies and things can lapse. Get a little, not saying you would get lazy, but in wanting to expedite the line, sometimes things get skipped, and we can't afford for that to happen in this community. So have you thought about this? Have you considered that?
Specifically, no. I can't say that I have. However, again, falling back on my years of New Year's Eve in a New New York City retail, Manhattan store is wild. Yeah, you hire extra security when you know that night is coming. It means putting someone out in the parking lot. It means putting someone out in the parking lot. You do what you have to do, and it would be something that we would definitely handle. And the online ordering, and one of the great things is really the OCM has just done a great job with their guidelines and the stringency of all of their guidelines. The systems in place from the POS systems, Cushy, and that will be that we use. They're the largest in the country, and it's an outstanding system. So there's kind of no way around the way the OCM has set it up. I don't know who's been in a retail store. So I mean, you're showing your ID twice.
Right.
So when you walk in, of course, your ID. And then when you order, your ID is scanned again when you're picking up your order. And that's how it has to be. Like the system won't function any other way. I can't give that person, I could give the person the bag, but then that sale would be stuck in the system. So from storage and security, the OCM has put forth really stringent guidelines, and the system doesn't work without it.
As you ground level, and you talk about you'll scan going in, is there a singular entrance, or will there be an entrance to another entrance?
No,
You talked to me about that?
Yes, we're not gonna, excuse me, Jesus, I'm so sorry.
We all have lives, don't we?
We're not planning on using a double door sort of vestibule system. Again, one of the things that made me really search hard in Forest Hills is an unusually low crime rate in New York City. So speaking to a couple of the business owners in our little shopping center, the one guy on the corner with the, I don't know what you call it, deli, I guess. He says sometimes, he gets some riffraff, but not really. And, the bagel guys, they never have a problem.
The Walgreens has had some problems with that,
Okay.
I don't know why they've not been forthcoming with that. That's been kind of
I haven't
been
spoken to
talked about
Walgreens.
on socials, I think, pretty well. But drugstores have been sort of targeted for that thing. The CBS up here, I know one month they were 29 times in 1 month. They've really done a great job fixing that. I'm not trying to talk down the neighborhood, don't get me wrong. But if you're doing an assessment, you should sure well know. Okay, so, because that was my question, because through that area, we all know that kids aren't allowed to come into your shop. That's not to say somebody's not gonna freaking give it a good old college try, right? And you're right near a middle school, well, not too far from it, from a high school, across the street from a park. You never know when some kid, and I just wanna make sure that whatever you have in place. That's weird.
Let there be light. Apparently the meeting is over.
So I just want to make sure that there's security in place that would keep that. That's sort of why I was asking, like, door to a door, like somebody that sees you and then allows you to then proceed further. And I'm sure that you've probably dealt with in the liquor business. Maybe you could give us an example of like when, kids have tried to be Weisenheimers and come in and buy something and, but that's just something that I think, even though you're beyond not near a church or, you're totally fine in that regard according to the law and the redefined law, folks, but this summer, because that was a big screw up. We just want to make sure that, our kids are safe, that's all.
So, yeah, you could do a double door system with the vestibule, and that way if they, just open the door, they're not looking into the store. That wasn't kind of our design based on the neighborhood. If it was a different neighborhood, for sure, you have to do that in bulletproof glass and all the other stuff. So the other OCM guidelines, you're not allowed to have clear glass or be able to look right into the store. So obviously, we have that. And there will be a podium, for lack of a better term, where the security guy will sort of stand or sit with the ID checker, and it'll be right as you open the door. And that will be manned every hour that we're open.
And my last question is, do you have any plans for the excess cannabis waste? Anything that's not sellable, anything related to that?
So again, I haven't run a store, but I have been speaking to store owners in New York. The majority of that is worked out between the distributor or grower of that, what is not sold. They take it back the majority of the time. Otherwise, we have specific rules and regulations set forth by the OCM with special garbage pickups and bags and the special tape things that go around it saying that it's medical waste.
Do you log it in the store? Is that something that you keep for a week, for a day? I'm sorry if I'm
Yes,
asking a question,
no,
I just don't know what the process is.
Every item has an expiration date, like food or anything of the sort. And the system that the OCM has in place for the whole state with the distributors and the growers and the retailers, every transaction is logged, and the dates and the QR codes, and it's pretty impressive actually. So they can actually do a recall and then reach out to the distributor, who can then reach out to every store and every, like I was saying, the double reading of the ID. So we have to be able to, I want to say it's 48 hours, reach the end user of something that's been recalled. Otherwise, we get a pretty hefty fine. Yeah, it's, again, the state has done, they've learned from all the other states' mistakes and have done it. Even with all the mistakes they've made, as you were laughing about it. But all in all, from what I've seen in California and Oregon and other places where it's kind of a disaster, they've done a pretty good job.
So I do have 3 more questions again. Do apologize for being late because I probably got to this earlier. So the one thing I want to raise, because I know you mentioned this, that you said yes, but there is a preschool across Queensboro that's probably 500 feet, but just letting you know in case you didn't.
I did not know.
Yeah, there is a school. So you may want to talk to OCM to make sure they also measure that so you don't get have to temporary close or something.
Yes,
So
I will.
that was my first thing I wanted to raise.
Okay.
My second question for you, again, I'm not a real estate expert, and I will always say that I think rent's too damn high in New York City. But I do want to flag the monthly rent you have, and I'm just wondering if maybe you have a thought of a contingency plan. If you do go there, there are a couple of different cannabis dispensaries that are going to be near you. What is your plan if, you may not get the influx of business that you're expecting? What is your main ways to target the audience to say, hey, come and see that by still abiding by OCM guidelines? So I just wondered if you had a thought. If you don't, that's fine. You can come back to us, but I just would like to know a little bit about your plans. Yes.
I think we're still waiting. Christine, you can tell me about this, but Ivy Day School, which is the preschool you're talking about, only I think it inhabits the ground level of that building, and I think the way the law is written, it has to inhabit the entirety of the building. Is that correct, Christine? I know we've had
a lot
some
with
different.
this summer because.
Here, can we give you the microphone?
So there still is not a clear definition as, originally when they first started issuing licenses, if the school did not occupy the entire building, it wasn't considered a school in their eyes. Now they're not sure if that's going to continue, that when the state legislature comes back into session, apparently they're going to try to clarify the cannabis legislation. So these things could be changing. So basically their advice to us was, if we have a concern about a school, whether it's occupying the entire building or not, just flag it with them and let them know that it's a concern. So obviously, if it's a concern for the entire committee, then, we can bring it up to the community board. But officially, it's probably not, obviously, if the location was cleared by OCM, it's not a condition for them right now. But that was basically their answer, is they don't know.
That was the only reason why I did want to bring it up, because that's what I just heard. Well, yeah, so you want to elaborate on the other question about what are your thoughts on how to attract that audience in regards to OCM guidelines, because you do have, I think, one unapproved dispensary on 108 Street, which is not that far, and there's one that's potentially going to open. I don't know if, I think it was approved by us, but it hasn't opened yet on Austin. No, I'm sorry, there is one. It's over there, Planet Fitness, and a smoothie, red smoothies, right there.
There are, I believe, at the moment, about 400 cannabis licenses in the state. It's about 7,000 liquor stores. The numbers are there's just not even close to enough stores to deal with the demand. Population as it is, again, I'm a big kind of population demographics guy. The area could have more stores. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen some of the numbers that have been coming into the state coffers, and last quarter we did more sales than the state of California in legal cannabis. It's a very big market.
I do agree with, and thank you for the clarifications and the going into deeper detail. I do this out of an idea that, we have businesses that come and go, and we're a community that likes to have a business come in and be successful, and we want to see it thrive. So that's why I asked those also. If you don't have a plan, maybe think of it. So I get the answer though. That's
I do, some of it, because we are so regulated in how we can market, can I say I have my own really cool private ideas that fall within the guidelines, but I'd rather not be public on it? I think they're really cool ideas. I guess time's gonna tell whether or not they do bring in business, but, so to market, you have to be sure when you market, it's either you have to be sure that, 80 or 90% of your targeted advertising is over 21. And I mentioned about the fastest growing market in cannabis in New York. So yeah, I'll leave it at that. But that's a market that I think is going to continue to grow and we can market to with confidence, is the senior citizen market.
Thank you.
But nobody saw or heard me say that.
Any more questions from the committee? Do you have any questions for us?
Not really. Yeah, thank you for the information on that preschool. I didn't know anything about it. I don't know if I'll sleep tonight. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, so I sent you the agenda for our next meeting, which is next Wednesday, September 10th. So it will be at Queensborough Hall, 7 o'clock. So after, the committee will discuss, they'll take a vote at the end of this meeting, and then they'll give a recommendation to the community board, and then they will present it at that meeting, and then the full community board will take a vote, and that will be the recommendation that we send over to OCM. So at this point, your next step is to come back on September 10th, not here, but at Queensborough Hall, and probably the community board won't have too many other questions, because we encourage them to watch the video from this meeting to save time. But if they do, we may just ask you to answer some other questions that weren't raised tonight that community board members might have. That's it.
Thank you all for your time.
Go, you're free to stay, whatever you wish.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so very much.
Thank you again.
I've been in the hot seat a lot.
So just for the committee, we're gonna move on to the next application, and then after that, then we'll discuss them both at the same time.
Benjamin?
Sorry?
Yes, you're Benjamin?
So,
Oh, Jeff.
So I am not. My name is Jeffrey Hoffman. I'm the attorney for Mr. Alpert. We do apologize. Mr. Alpert is very sick, and we figured we didn't want him getting everybody else quite sick, so unfortunately he was not able to attend today's meeting. So I do want to give the background that I'm able to about this and obviously answer the questions that the board may have. Obviously, we've already submitted the application to you. Mr. Alpert is a card licensee. This is the license that was given to individuals that had a cannabis conviction. Mr. Alpert was really put through the ringer by our system, and what OCM did and the Cannabis Control Board did by giving these licenses to individuals that were that had cannabis convictions, we believe is a way of restorative justice to correct the mistakes that we as a society made previously. Mr. Alpert has had also gone through the ringer in this process, as was discussed previously. Real estate is at a premium. There have been a tremendous number of injunctions related to the cannabis industry here in the state, which I'm happy to talk about. It sounds like some of you are probably quite familiar with this. So he's really had a tremendous challenge in getting to this point. I saw one of the questions you may be interested in is, why Forest Hills? Mr. Alpert is an electrician. He's done a tremendous amount of work in Queens. He believes this is a community that he wants to move to. He currently lives out on Long Island, and his intention is to move into this community once the store opens. His intention is to hire from the community. We believe that's a tremendously important thing, that not only do we see restorative justice for the individuals getting licensed, that we also see something along those lines for the communities that were also disproportionately impacted by anti-cannabis enforcement. So it's very important to him that he will be hiring from the community. It is also very important to have some type of community give back. Mr. Alpert will probably be able to address that with more specificity at the board meeting next week. He's working on the plans of what he's going to do for that. Typically, it's some percentage of revenue towards some type of community project that the community believes is valuable, and that's some research that he's doing now. But that's what he will be looking to do. The location is on 69th Avenue, south from Forest Hills Stadium. I think some of the same questions you asked perhaps about Forest Hills may be applicable here. We can talk about that. This is in that strip mall that's down there. I believe the location that he's taking is the old Kumon education facility. I think that's it. You see that there's a wine store next door, and I think a music school, which is not a school that would be the 500-foot rule, but is a music school. That's what's in that strip mall now. That's the location he'll be in. That's really the information that I wanted to provide about Mr. Alpert and what's going on, and obviously I'm happy to answer as many of the board's questions as I'm able to. Again, unfortunately, Mr. Alpert was not able to be here today, and he would obviously have more of those answers, so I'm not able to answer something for you today. We would certainly be willing to be responsive via email or in any other way that you would like. Thank you very much.
One of the questions that was not answered in the questionnaire is from the business basics. Who will be the employee in charge? Is that going to be Mr. Alpert, or do you have someone else that you will assign as employee in charge?
It will potentially be, this is part of the decision making that's going on. I know from one of the previous questions is about experience in cannabis. As I obviously said, Mr. Alpert is an electrician, doesn't necessarily have a tremendous amount of experience in cannabis. He has partners that are not partners ownership in the business, but that will work with him in the business, that have significant amounts of hospitality experience and other related experience. Afonso, who is an individual that has communicated with the board, is one of those. There's another gentleman named Justin, who has tremendous experience in these regards. They will be very involved in helping him with the operations of the business. Whether or not it'll be Mr. Alpert or one of those individuals is still to be determined, but we will definitely have someone that has. If it is Ben, he will definitely have people with him that have tremendous experience and expertise dealing with this.
Well, Also, I noticed that you will not be offering delivery services. Is that something that you will consider in the future, or the business is not going to have delivery at all?
So my understanding at this point is that there's no intention to. I have not directly asked Mr. Alpert, like 5 years down the road, if things are going great, would you deliver it? I don't have an answer for that, and would be happy if you wanted further explanation from him. But at this point, the intention is not to do delivery. As per the.
Is there a reason why they don't want to offer? Most of the applicants that we've seen do want to offer delivery services.
Sure, so I just think it's a matter of the community that you're going to be in and what your potential customer base is going to be, as I think was already established here. I think one of the great potential customer bases is going to be all of the people that are going to be going to events, in Forest Hills, which is going to be not too far north of where this dispensary store is going to be. Plus, there's a tremendous amount of overhead related to the delivery as far as having the vehicles, where you're going to have them. I don't think the location that's being proposed would be particularly well suited for that. It's not like there's going to be a drive-in garage or something that a lot of other spaces have where they do that. So just right now, their decision was not to do delivery.
I noticed on the application you answered no to question 2. Were there any, number 3, is there a schoolhouse of worship or daycare center close by? You answered no. Did you know that this is in the neighborhood, the walking neighborhood of PS 101, 144, and Our Lady of Mercy Catholic Academy?
So we are aware that there are schools in the neighborhood. They are outside of the 500-foot distance requirement. In fact, we actually redid the distance measurement to the closest one, which I believe is the school that's just south of this location. And because there is this confusion about how OCM is now doing the distance measurements, we actually measured it to the closest point on the exterior part of the sidewalk. We even did it what would be a worse measurement for Ben, and it was 520 feet to that. We are very respectful, and I am very respectful that people don't want their kids to be able to get cannabis, right? This is something that's only for 21-year-olds. Again, much like the other applicant said, there's going to be stringent ID checks. This is standard in the cannabis stores here in the state. In New York City, when we do these things, we are all on top of each other, right? I mean, this is just the dynamic of living in the densest city in the United States, right? So the rule is 500 feet, and we are very respectful of that. And again, the closest one is indeed over 500 feet to the sidewalk, even not even to the school ground line.
I think you answered the question. You answered no, it is close by. I understand that you're saying 520 feet, but, if the limit's 500 feet, it is close by, and you do acknowledge that, though.
I do. It does say in question 500 feet, though, so I just that is kind of the reference point there that is used writ large in the industry for the distance between schools and the dispensaries.
I have a question, and it might affect the distance. So, the address, your application says 9601 69th Avenue. Your letter of intent from your landlord says 9603.
Yeah,
and Kumon is 9605.
Okay. I may be mistaken on which one they're actually replacing. The landlord just bought the property, and they're going to be dividing it up. So I actually had a note here from them to this exact question, and I'll read to you what they had previously noted about that. Give me 1 second here, and I'll pull it up. The lot has multiple tenants, and it is referred to the landlord overall as 96-01, and that the lease would delineate 9603 as the specific location for the.
So do you know on that block, it's a commercial strip, is it the first store, the second store, the third store?
I think it's from the bottom. I think it's the third one up. But again, just to the point of the distances, they literally, if you want to see it, they actually prepared a neat little graphic here for me where they actually redid the measurement. I'm happy to bring my phone around, folks.
Can you forward that to the community board?
Sure, we'll go back and forth that.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you.
Question, just out of curiosity and not out of judgment. And I don't know if you're privy to this as far as knowing, but can you tell us a little bit about Mr. Alpert's journey in trying to find a location? Because I know that you talked about Forest Hills and him being an electrician and doing work here, but I also know that he submitted an application in 2023 in Long Island.
Yes.
And so with that, can you just tell me a little bit about what has been happening in his pursuit to try to open his
Sure. So Long Island is where he lives. Long Island is notoriously difficult to open cannabis dispensaries. In fact, we're actively suing several of the localities out there because we believe they are enacting what are known as unreasonably impractical laws as far as being able to open dispensaries. There's a thing called preemption, and so state law typically trumps local laws. And so the way the cannabis law works, the localities are not able to do things that are different or in addition to what the OCM does via their regulatory purview. So for example, OCM has this 1,000-foot distance rule in cities with over 20,000 people, and it's 2,000 feet under 20,000 people. There are municipalities out on Long Island that are increasing those distances. There are municipalities out on Long Island that are creating setbacks to residential areas, which is also not allowed by the law. So it's been incredibly difficult for anybody to open out on Long Island. For example, Nassau County, there are no stores in Nassau County. That's why so many people are setting up shop on the Queens-Nassau border, because they want to get all the customers in Nassau that can't get dispensaries on their own. So originally that is what he was looking at. It just became incredibly difficult. It turned out that this landlord that bought the property was very interested in working with him and making the property putatively available to him. So this became very appealing to him. Again, he's done a lot of work in Queens and in this community, and so he said, this is something I want to do, and this is a community I want to be a part of and be involved with.
A few things to Nicholas's point. Yes, I understand what you're saying. You've done the measurements from your location down to PS 144, which is the closest. But I think given the recent mess that has been with the OCM in regards to how they're measuring it, and the fact that they weren't considering educational law versus their law, and the fact that we have multiple businesses throughout the state now that are in places illegally, that we want to be ensuring that we're being diligent in how we are, raising concerns to the OCM about certain locations. And with this location being, just by the hair of your chinny chin chin away from that school, I think it's going to give people some hesitation and pause in approving this. And I think it's a damn shame, because this is a justice candidate. This is a person who this program was initially intended for. And I just wish that that Benjamin had found a better location than this one, because I will also share about this location is being that it is nestled, and when I say nestled, it truly is nestled in a residential neighborhood. It's not the same type of corridor that you would see even on Yellowstone or on Austin or on 108, or throughout the Queens Boulevard. It is a street that probably most businesses quiet down by 8:30, lights out 9 o'clock. You're not getting a ton of traffic, except maybe during concert season, and most of those are people just trying to get from their car to the thoroughfare. And so my concern is that even from a foot traffic perspective, when I'm thinking about putting in a business, that's not necessarily a location I would consider. So I'm just sharing with you just my own observations from having sat through this committee's diligent work over the past few years. You'll see on our record that we have tended to be very, it's been very rare that we've had a concern about a particular business. And I will say that this location, for me, for the first time in all of my years, in my year of doing this, gives me pause, just because of how close it is, and also because of the fact that it is in such a residential neighborhood. that does raise concerns for me. And I understand, we're at a place, you know, I know back in during Prohibition, you had the Women's Temperance Union. Here we go again. I think we gotta keep dancing around in here.
Yeah, if you don't move, it's probably motion sensitive.
I don't know how to deactivate. It's like on the timer, I think. I need the electrician.
We'll get Ben in here right away.
I know that it can seem contradictory, whereas the gentleman over here who owns the liquor businesses, people don't blink when you put in a new wine shop, or don't blink when you put in a vodka shop, but that's not where we are yet. And I think we get there by having trust in the businesses that are on the ground. And I think one of the ways of earning trust is hearing from the community and saying, it's not that we don't like your applicant, I've not met your applicant, it's just that this location, I think, will be seen, and I'm just being transparent with you, will be seen by many as being just a little too darn close. And the fact that it is nestled in such a quiet neighborhood, I just don't think it is going to be as profitable for your client. This is just my 2 cents on the issue.
I tremendously respect your opinion. You're a leader here in this community, so that I will certainly take that information. Ben will certainly watch this video, and we'll certainly relay that information to him.
Okay, thank you.
You may not be able to answer this being the lawyer, but if you can, great. So we received the LOI, and we saw this wonderful business.
The debt, yeah.
Yes, business plan. So that's some questions, but you can answer them or not. One of the things that was mentioned is you will be sourcing plants from local greenhouses. Have you all looked at that, since that's going to be, seems like give it back to the community, which is one of the questions we asked that you say not yet. So I was just wondering, do you know if they even started looking at that kind of stuff, or are they waiting until they get everything approved before starting to do that?
So I do not know the details of that. What I can tell you is there are more and more micro businesses opening, and micro businesses are able to cultivate, or they're the one license in New
Sorry, let me
York.
clarify. I apologize.
Yes.
I'm going back to just the overall decoration. Like he mentioned in the plan that he's going to work with the local nurseries to bring in some live plants, not the cultivators. I'm talking about the neighborhood. He mentions in the neighborhood he wants to bring in, like, he wants to do this agria theme, which is like more like plants and nature and everything. So I'm just kind of seeing if you know anything about his plans.
So I don't know that much about that. I can tell you that that is part of the bigger idea, that one of the things that we believe is critical when you open a business like this in a community, again, to build the community trust, is that you hire from and you spend with the community, right? When you can spend money, are you spending it with some unnamed Amazon seller who knows where, or are you doing it in the community? I think this was one way that they were looking to show that their plan is, when possible, to stop and spend their money in the community.
So another thing he mentions in the plan is that he's looking over a dozen cultivators already. So kind of you started answering my question.
That's what I want. When you said plants, that's where my head goes.
So
Sure.
with that research of over a dozen, are those mostly in, I looked at the list of all the approved cultivators.
Yeah.
I noticed there's some in Mass, there's some in Suffolk, mainly in the state of New York. Where have they looked, do you know?
So I don't know the details on that. This is kind of what I was getting to about the micro businesses. So the micro business is the one license that can be fully vertically integrated. They can grow it, produce it, distribute it, and sell it at retail if they want to. More and more of those micro businesses are starting to open in New York City. I don't know if there's any in Queens yet, but my gut feel is there probably will be over time. These will be businesses where dispensaries will be able to source their cannabis products from those businesses. So absolutely, I think that would be the intention over time, as more of those businesses are up and running, is to do that.
And you mentioned that as an electrician, he's worked in the neighborhood a lot. He knows about Forest Hills. He wants to work here. I think you mentioned he may eventually want to live here as well.
I do think that is his intention, yeah.
He also mentions that he's going to find people to co-sponsor some of his events to get more people in the community to come to his business.
Yeah.
Do you know, has he presented a plan to you, like, this is my plan on how I want to do that? Because we always are looking at how can a business like this, ingrain themselves in the community and show that they're a value add to this area.
Sure, so that is not something he's talked with me in any great detail about. But again, the key is, as you can see, he's already thinking about this. And again, that is really, from my perspective, I've got hundreds of cannabis clients, and I've done meetings like this quite a bit. And one of the things that I think is lacking in many of the applicants is this willingness to work within the community, to buy from the community, to hire from the community. And I do think that this is something that you've already seen expressed in the application that he sent. So I think, from my perspective, I would hope that's a good sign.
Yeah, and I don't think you asked this, Heather, and you ran through a lot of questions that we asked this gentleman here, but I do want to ask a question that I don't think we asked you, that we asked him.
Sure.
What, do you know the plan of the setup? I was looking at the agreement, and it said that you guys are responsible for the interior part of the business. Being that most of the places we were approved are given the letter for them to come to the area, the neighborhood, a lot of them have been banks. So we like that they have that vestibule. He mentioned they won't have that in his business. How do you all plan to make sure that high schoolers, underage people are not slipping through? Obviously, I understand you'll have security guards, but do you know if he has a business building plan of like dual wall, double doors? I don't think that business has double doors.
Correct, and at this point, literally, the letter of intent was signed today.
Yeah.
So I just don't think that there's been enough time. I assure you that no sales to anyone under 21 is going to be top of mind. That is one of the most important things in the state of New York when it comes to sales, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to advertising. And I advise all of my clients that is, you want to keep your license, you 100% make sure nobody under 21 is getting any cannabis from your store.
So when you open, I'd love to come see it because I was reading this plan. It sounds great, lovely. I don't know about the space, and he's mentioning kiosks. Do you know anything about this? Because he mentions it in the plan.
So typically, that is the way a lot of ordering is done in stores, is you set up kiosks with an iPad or something else. And this gets to some of the questions earlier about, what do you do when you have a tremendous overflow of perhaps customer base? Because it's online, there is the ability, even though they're not doing delivery, there's often the ability for people to pre-order, and then they come to the store and the order is ready for them. So it's not like that person is taking up space. Again,
Apologies, everyone.
I'm just gonna stand here on our side.
But so just again, the kiosk, and just having that whole computerized ordering system that people are doing both in store, that is available on the website as well, so people can place those orders, come to the store and do the fulfillment without having to take up the time of someone that is, browsing around in the store and otherwise taking up space there.
I've always seen the outside of that shopping, that space you mentioned, and I'm just, in my head, that's a very small area or something. I'm like, how are they going to be able to have kiosks and customer service people and security guards and entrance without it being a fire condition? That's why I was asking that question to you.
Sure. So certainly that is going to be something that will get dealt with as they start to work on the site plan, which now that LOI has been signed, they can start working on the site plan. Yeah.
Just to slightly piggyback on the space question, can you provide a little bit more color on the cannabis accessories and where and how those will be displayed?
So again, I'm not the merchandiser or the business owner, so I don't know exactly how that'll be done. Typically, what stores do is, so generally the things you're allowed to sell in a cannabis dispensary are the cannabis products themselves, the ancillary products, pipes, bongs, screens, lighters, the types of things that, paper, rolling papers, etc. And then branded merchandise of the store, such as t-shirts for the store, only in adult sizes, of course, and water. Those are the things that basically the dispensary is able to sell. So different stores do it in different ways. Obviously, the cannabis products, it's not like shopping in a drugstore where you can go and pick the product up yourself and then take it to a cash register. You have to, you can look at the product under glass and the bud tender can show it to you, but you then have to place the order either with the bud tender or with the kiosk. Typically, there are display shelves that would have the smoking accessories that people would be purchasing as well. So you might have shelving where if it's glassware, you would see glassware on the shelving. Again, rolling papers, lighters, other types of things that are the typical cannabis accessories that the dispensaries would sell. But these would be out and available because they aren't cannabis products, so people could touch them a little bit more than otherwise, although most stores typically do have them in some type of casing because frankly it's a great way to prevent theft. So that is something very interesting that you typically don't see a lot of theft at New York cannabis dispensaries because customers don't have access to the products to do that.
Thank you. So this is a question from one of our committee members who was not able to be here tonight, so I'm going to read it from what she asked us. So, as we've all mentioned, you're in an area which is, as we say, nestled in a very residential neighborhood. I did see here that the hours you have are 9 to 9. However, there were those nights where we mentioned the Forest Hill Stadium was getting out a little later, so maybe eventually you might open up until 10, I don't know. I'm just wondering what is the plan for, to not cause nuisance, or to get the noise levels louder, because as Heather mentioned, this is a residential neighborhood, so a lot of times people are going to bed, or they're kind of settling in for the night, so do you know, as the lawyer attorney, do you know if you have a plan on how to combat the potential of becoming a nuisance with people coming and like ordering and stuff like that, staying outside of the store after potentially buying a product, things like that?
Sure. So one of the things every dispensary owner that I know tries to do is police the sidewalk in front of their store, and that is a critical component of it. Very often, we're not really seeing the lines that we saw originally. So if you go back to December 22 when Housing Works opened, literally there was a line down Broadway, back down Astor, up Astor Place, back down HM. It was everywhere, right? And places would often have velvet ropes to kind of control the crowds. We're not seeing that quite as much now, just because there are many, many more stores available. I do think the opening hours will really kind of drive a lot of what you're addressing. He's not going to be open at 11 at night when people are already at a bar somewhere else getting drunk and then come there to buy some cannabis and make a nuisance. There's not going to be music playing outside. You know, one of the things that we see with a lot of the illicit stores in the city is they'll put speakers outside, and they'll put the sandwich boards outside all over the place, and they'll put just everything up and down the street. And these are not things that the regulated stores do, because they don't want the problems with that, exactly what you're suggesting. I would defer to them to more specific things that they're going to do along those lines, but I think as a general rule, the opening hours are going to be one of the big things over there. It's not going to be, I mean, yes, people can get rowdy, I guess, at 8 or 9 p.m., but generally, in my experience, we can defer to the liquor store owner. It's usually once folks have gotten a drink or two in them that things get out of control. But I do think that, you know, given where we are in the market at this point, that there won't be lines all the way down the block. You know, as we've already established, in the neighborhood there may be 3 or 4 other dispensaries. So I don't think some of those issues that we saw initially with the licensed stores are gonna continue.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
In the part of the community, if you can expand, I see that you're going to have literature and pamphlets and information on the website, but is there any other type of community outreach that you're planning on doing? And if you do, what do you have planned so far?
So that again is something that Mr. Alpert and his consultants are working on. I'm not privy to exactly what they're doing at this time. As to the literature, that is material that has to be approved by OCM, and very often the OCM will even dictate, like, these are the types of things that we want you to do. So for example, one, I think very successful campaign they did was about the safe storage of cannabis. The idea of cannabis, if you're an adult with kids in the house, you have a cannabis safe, right? And then your cannabis is stored somewhere that your children don't have access to it. So it would be information like that, and again, it has to be approved by, this is not something that Ben or his consultants are gonna just dream up themselves and we're gonna publish whatever we want. Again, this is very often things that are driven by the office. I think it's incredibly valuable for the community to have the store where this is happening, have that type of resource. As far as other types of community efforts, I mean, again, Brinkley, sir, mentioned some of the things that they've already mentioned in their application. I'm not privy to what specifically they would do along these lines, but I think you can see the fact that Mr. Alpert is already thinking about this writ large would indicate that this is something he's thinking about and may even be willing to discuss further at next week's meeting.
I really do like his business plan. I do hope that you all come to the neighborhood, if that be that space or somewhere else, because I'd like to see if it actually is going to fruition, because it was actually a really nice plan.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do you have any questions for us?
Not so much a question, just I want to thank the board for the opportunity to come here and present before you today. I unfortunately will not be able to be at next week's meeting. I have a meeting just like this up in Livingston, New York, about 100 miles north of here. We're kind of all over the state doing this. I do want to say we do understand the concerns about being close to schools, about being in neighborhoods. I guess I would just leave you with the idea that, and the chair is correct, we're not quite there with cannabis the way we are with alcohol. But we do have this idea of kind of the neighborhood bar or the neighborhood store that you frequent. And I just think this may be a wonderful opportunity to begin to build that kind of bridge and that kind of relationship. I'm certain there are people in the community that this store would be embedded in that want to purchase cannabis, that want to have a cannabis store close to them. And there has to be a first step. And I just think this would be a wonderful first step. But I absolutely appreciate and respect the concerns that have been voiced along those lines. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this point, the committee is going to discuss, they're going to vote. It's a public meeting, so you're welcome to stay, you're welcome to go, that's up to you. And you guys can, the camera will remain rolling because it is a public meeting, but you guys can discuss amongst yourselves. Try to pass the mic the best you can, if not, just be very loud.
We can get that other microphone. David, would you mind grabbing that for us?
Thanks.
Thank you, David. That will help. Do you guys need a quick break to stretch your legs, or do you just want to power through?
Power.
Okay, I got power.
Like we want to go home.
But if you want to get up and stretch your legs in place, that's fine. I don't care.
Oh, I'm sorry, actually, Bradley had asked if he could make one last remark, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Sure.
I just wanted to
Let's
say-
get you a microphone.
Sorry. That I am also what's called a social equity license holder. So I wasn't a dealer, so I didn't get a felony and go to jail, but I was arrested numerous times for small marijuana possession, court dates, missing work, all sorts of other things. So yeah, there's different levels of the
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the first applicant that we just heard from, just wanted to have any, see if there's any discussion, any concerns, things that you would like to kind of go over before we would do. We would do a straw poll, because again, no, we don't have to do a straw poll. No, we have to. Mira, I'm so sorry.
Good job, guys, you have a quorum.
How are you?
So we have quorum, so we can actually take a vote on a recommendation, but I wanted to see first if there was any need for discussion before we move.
Any concerns?
I know. Like an open meeting. Okay. Does anyone have a recommendation? Here, hold on.
I just want to make sure to cover our bases and also, Bradley, that we put in there that there is a school, that we mentioned, because I don't want it to come back to us that we approved and we knew there was a school, he knew there was a school, so we don't want that to be negatively affecting the board or individual.
So the thing that committee, I think, has to decide is that, because if your comments are that, it's okay. If your comments are that you approve the application, how do you want to work in that there's a school? Because then, are you saying that you don't want the applicant to get approved because there is a school?
That's not what I'm saying. I just want it to be voiced and know that we recognize the committee. If there is a school nearby, we do not know. I'm not on a tape measure to see if it's 500 feet. And I know that the school isn't a whole building, which is what historically we know as the difference between when they want about the school versus not. I understand it's, that's all.
So, I mean, you can, if the motion is to, so I think that someone should make a motion. If the motion is that you approve the application with the note that we acknowledge that there is a school at such and such address, and we can look at the address, and that it's
So-
we do that at the end to taking the vote?
Yeah, okay.
And the question will be,
Well, the motion is that, but you want that included,
Well, I
but
don't know.
maybe not everybody else wants that
Yeah, I don't
included.
know.
So the motion would have to include that comment, and then
Yeah.
the committee would take a vote.
so in order for us to.
So if it doesn't pass, then someone else can make another motion without that.
Okay, well, I know that understand. So my motion is that if we approve the applicant, that we acknowledge as a committee that we understand there is a school nearby the location. That's all. I don't know what else. I don't think there's anything else. So
I don't think approving should be in the motion, or that we take a
letter
vote.
recommendation.
We're taking a vote. on
Well, you're
this.
recommending approval or not.
On
It's not an approval, it's a recommendation.
recommendation of approval, we would still like to acknowledge that there's a school nearby.
That's fine, I would just, my opinion would be to be specific, because if you just say there's a school nearby, I think that if that's the school you're concerned about, then you should say the school located at such and such address. I can look it up, you don't need to know right now.
But I guess my question is, do we not vote on it, and if it is approved, then we make a motion? That's what I like to say, approve, make a motion that.
Yeah, so that's why I want to clarify, so based on the letter recommendation that we approve them coming to the neighborhood, I would like for it to be acknowledged that in that approval, that letter recommendation for approval, that we let it be known that as a committee, we understand that there is a school across the street near the Trader Joe's on the corner of Yellowstone and Kings Boulevard.
Okay, so I think what Marcel is saying is, let's take a vote first to see if the application is approved, and then if it's approved, then you can take another vote. How many people want to add that into the recommendation? So how about that? Is that?
So, let's just, do you want to just go down the list, or do you just want to go around the table?
That's how we take it, then we'll go.
Do you recommend approval of the first application that we, without any caveat?
Do you recommend or support this applicant? It's like for us to give a letter of recommendation that we're okay with them coming to be in the neighborhood.
Then we're gonna take a second vote, whether or not you want to add a caveat that we want the state to acknowledge that, yes.
So the first one.
The first one is just a yes or no on the application.
Okay, yes.
Yes, pending 500 feet. If it ain't 500 feet, then no.
We'll do that
I
as a second.
want the word pending. I don't know why we acknowledge it. I don't understand why we acknowledge it. We acknowledge it's a church control.
I think one of the acknowledgements is because when we do have the meeting with the entire board, that is something that's going to come up, and we want to make sure that we're saying yes or no, yes, with the acknowledgement, like we know that this is very clear.
Because if we don't approve it, it's not 500.
We wouldn't approve it if it's not that.
But I think what they're saying is it could be 500 feet, but they're still not happy with the fact that there's a school across the street.
Okay.
Right, so even if it's further than 500 feet, you still want to make that motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because it's still close by.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not concerned with the actual measurement, but that there's a school close by.
I just care for these.
I'm not sure I understand, I'm sorry, because I know we're in the middle of voting, but I'm not sure I understand what the purpose of the motion, meaning.
So based on OCM's guidelines in the past, historically,
Their regulation basically.
I don't know that.
We don't-
He doesn't know that
yeah,
yet.
he-
He doesn't know it exists.
Yeah.
he didn't know it existed. So they said on the application, it does say yes. I believe it says yes. Yes, but the school also, the reason why they may have said yes is because historically, because that's what they think of the whole building, it's not quantified as a school to OCM standards. But we all know the summer debacle, I want to be known that if they come back and say, oh, that is considered a school, and it's not less, or if it's not over 500 feet or whatever the number is, does that mean he's going to have to stop his building of this business? Or are they going to come back and say, well, CB6 approved, CB6 approved this without, with acknowledgement? I mean, it's
I think you're giving us way too much power.
But we didn't,
No,
we
so
don't
OCM will
approve.
not approve.
We recommend.
Yeah,
It
so
is
we make a
not-
recommendation, and
Yes.
then, from what I understand, OCM is, the one thing that they are now, after what has recently happened, is they're not fencing on the 500 feet. If it's not, they're not approving anything within 500 feet of the school. So there's waivers that you can get to be close to another dispensary, but you cannot get around the 500 foot, is what they're telling us.
The walking directions have them 1,024, but that's walking directions, which means walking down Queens Boulevard to the corner, across the street and back up a little bit. So I don't know what the measurement would be if you literally just went wonk across the street.
450.
Oh, aren't you the third?
That's what I do for a living.
I love you for it, that's great, 450, so see, and, go ahead, Marcel, give me the microphone.
And I think the reason I'm struggling with the motion is because, we are a fraction of the greater board. And we also know that there are individuals in the greater board that will have a real problem with the fact that schools have this. So saying that we approve knowing there's a school, I don't think that, I don't know, I feel like we're doubling down on the
If you're
fact that
concerned
the
about the
schools
school,
knowing
then
that.
maybe you should just vote no, I guess is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if the schools are concerned, vote no. If you're fine with it, 450 or 900 or 1,000, vote yes.
But I will also say it's not unusual for a committee to vote one way and then when the board lays in,
They
it changes a bit.
Yeah.
And that.
But that means we'll be there for
That's what
hours.
collaborative work should look like.
As opposed to other times.
If it always looked the same, committee to board,
Yeah.
then I think there's a problem.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah, I agree. And I think, okay.
So
I think the
let's-
same for the concern that you brought up as it relates to the residential neighborhood. And I, with all due respect to what the attorney said, I think that you're absolutely right. This could be an opportunity for us to do something different, right? And trailblaze and help, rebrand the whole concept. But I also know, as a board, what we deal with in this community as it relates to the residential disruptants, And so I think with that consideration and understanding that we're just a fraction, that we have to prepare ourselves for the ramification of support, knowing that this will be a major issue when it comes to the rest of the community members.
So why don't you finish the vote and see where that lands? So, because if the majority votes no, then you don't really need any, you can just tell the board that the committee voted not to support the application because the school is at this location, right? So if the committee votes yes, then you can consider your next step. But I would first finish your vote and see if the votes come out, right? Am I not understanding you?
We did this before with another, I feel like we did this once before. With each of a question for, each of you. So I think we've done this before. Is there any opportunity or possibility of finding another location within this district? Like, are you open to it? I feel like with, is the same Mr. Alford? We can't ask that. Okay, we're done, sorry.
It's all right, so we've got David, you were a yes,
Yes.
correct?
Right.
Robert?
I'm a supporter, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Bradley?
Yes.
Gladys?
Yes.
Okay, Marcel?
No.
No.
No. Yes.
And just for those in the audience, I'm the chair, I can't vote on this, I will vote when it comes before the full board, because I am not a member of any committee, but I attend all the meetings. It's just a weird thing.
The yes have it.
Okay.
The recommendation is yes.
Okay, so the recommendation is yes, so we move on to the next applicant. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the next applicant is the application on 69th Avenue. Open the floor for discussion.
Any concerns, questions?
You're not a voice in the corner.
Oh,
Do you have something you want to share with the group?
no,
our own little. We're not going to.
They have the mic, so then you want to start, we'll start out.
You're sure you're allowed to have fun without us.
That you want to discuss?
Yes.
Any question?
Okay. David is yes.
Yes, I want to put in my 2 cents, but I'll hold it.
This is the 9601
Yes.
location, right? No.
Yes.
Say yes.
Yes.
I'm gonna say yes.
Marcel?
It was a quiet.
Yes. No.
No. No.
So the yes happened. No, actually, yeah, maybe.
Actually, yes.
What if there's a tie? Yeah. Looking at it as a, no, I don't bring it. I guess you would just report to the board that it was a tie vote, and then they would have to just vote.
So next steps of this recommendation will then be presented to the community board. We will let the community board know of our recommendation. They will also be told of the, Gladys and Brentley, whomever, will also let them know what the vote margin was. To the folks, to the applicants, you will be presenting to the board. I don't know, there will be some questions. We're hoping not a lot of questions. You won't actually have to present. You'll just be there to answer any questions they might have. Your presentation was to us, so we hope that our board members come prepared. And our location, just to point out, will not be here. Because we had an applicant come to our board meeting here. We weren't here. We'll be at Queensboro Hall, 2nd floor, and you just have to walk in the front of the building. And
I would just add, if there was something that were asked tonight that you couldn't provide an answer for, if you want to provide more information, you can certainly email it to me and I will send it to the committee before the board meeting. That sometimes helps, prepare for the next meeting. So if there was something that came up and you want to share more information, just email it to me and I will send it to the committee. This way they can report at the board meeting.
And also, if the applicant happens to decide to change locations, which I know isn't going to happen in a week, but should you all decide to change locations, you will then have to come back to us again. We do have an applicant that we did discuss that was going to be at one particular location, and that did not work out, so they want to come back and meet with us again. They've now procured a second location, as you know. That takes quite a bit of effort. So they will be coming to see us again. So that would be required of you again. So if you should feel that you need to find a new location, just be prepared to know that you'll have to see us lovely people again. Yes, sir.
It'll be posted.
In the next.
In the next,
day or two.
we
We'll
should say
be
quarter.
by tomorrow after.
Because you had at the next meeting is what I was.
Oh, yes, because we like to give.
Technology breakdowns, I don't like to promise anything, but it's usually up the next day.
We like to give our community an opportunity, our community board members an opportunity to see it and brief themselves on it so that we're not wasting time at our meeting. Gladly and Brentley? Gladly.
It's time to go home.
I think we're good. Thank you so much to the applicants who came tonight to spend some time with us. Really appreciate it. And for staying.
Mostly.
I do want to ask that question. Before we ask that question, though, I wanted to just say that before we open it up for anybody who might have questions or wants to talk about anything, I do want to remind everybody who has not responded to Christine's email about liquor licenses.
I chased them down, don't worry.
Please respond to her. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions before we end the night?